Welcome to the 17th day of December 2021. My name is Kurt, and this is my Good Life meditation, my daily reminder, first thing in the morning, of my objectives and principles, and a remembrance of yesterday, last night, and then a forecast of the day to come. So, yesterday was a really good day. Kind of unfolded, it pretty much unfolded just as I anticipated. There were no ambush moments. Interesting how it's like. No, I'm not ready to say that. We'll just leave it at that. Maybe another day. It really yesterday went very well. So I completed the week strong, with a new direction for the project, and importantly, I was able to document that direction. Pardon me. I was able to document that, get that out for review by the team, and ready for maybe executive sponsor review by midweek next week. So here we go. We're off and running. And then when I went shopping last night, I don't get out much anymore now that I'm working from home. None of us do. Emily gets out the most. And I went shopping in the store, and I was really in just a real sense of peace at the store, just shopping. It's maybe it's because I'm not driving around or riding around, or I think it has more to do with this, these videos, and this more in-depth examination of my objectives and principles and their consequence and how I'm dealing with them. I'm doing a bit because I always do a better job when the camera's running. I do a more cursory effort when it's shut down, faster. I usually get it done in half the time or less. You know how if you practice something, it becomes more natural muscle memory. Thinking of someone who's learning karate and who practices the katas, right? When the time comes, the moves are more natural. That's probably what's happening. As a result, here's how I feel this morning. And I would like it if this is how the picture looks every day. There I am standing on the Anchorhold in a very placid sea at mid-tide, with the Helios orbit of the sun rising in the horizon to begin the day, and not but the faintest ripple upon the waves, upon the water, and room enough atop the Anchorhold to actually sit down if I want to. That's a contented look. That's how today feels. Now let's do the Good Life meditation. Today, this chair sure is comfy. Yumiko bought this for me. She takes good care of me. My objectives are 7. The first is to be always ready to die and in a place of balance, and as much as possible a place of completion while still being on the go. Number 2 is to make a good and effective use of time. And I gave it some more thought. Yesterday I stumbled over the words good and effective. I gave it some more thought during the day yesterday, and I can describe them better. Good is time that is successful in the pursuit of a virtuous life. Effective actually yields results. So it's both in the right direction and getting somewhere. 3, the development and maintenance of good and sound life principles, which is precisely what I just was doing, describing there, by looking at my principle and asking myself, what do I mean yesterday? What do I mean by good and effective? And I couldn't give a good answer yesterday. I had to think about it, and then I realized, oh, I understand virtue and results. And now I realize, yeah, that is a good principle. That is a good objective. So this exercise alone, this what I'm doing right now, is the fulfillment, the execution, and the fulfillment of objective number 3. The next objective is the cultivation of good emotional reactions. Man, that's getting so much easier. It's like a toboggan racing down the slope now. You have to give it a run starting, you hop in and you're sliding down the slope, and it's just picking up speed. Yesterday, walking through the supermarket, it just felt like the world was in slow motion, and I felt like nothing could ambush me. This is going to sound a little hyperbole, but it felt a little bit like in The Matrix when Neo was being shot at and moving aside, dodging the bullets, kind of seeing them coming. That's what yesterday in the supermarket felt like, moving slowly through the aisles with my cart, smiling at people, picking things from the shelves. It all felt like it was in slow motion. And if something had happened, like if a rude person had come my way, or if I had made a blunder of some sort, that would have been trivially easy to manage. That's how it felt. Nothing happened. So it was like a slow motion event in terms of the management of emotions and the shepherding of my thoughts to useful ends. I wasn't allowing my mind to run away with distraction, but I was keeping focused on the moment. And then as a result, the world seemed to slow down. Not literally, but in terms of my interaction with it. Less reactive, more proactive. Strange experience that was. It'll be interesting to see if that continues. The next objective is the performance of good actions. You okay, dogs? Performance of good actions. Doing good things throughout the day. Next is the recognition of true limits and true opportunity. Had that happen yesterday at work. I was going into a meeting, and something came up relative to that meeting. I won't share details. And I, in a moment, looked at that. I started to have a reaction that wasn't the action I want to have. I even went so far as to communicate that to somebody. And then I realized, oh, this is just reality. I'm going to tune my reaction to that reality. And I did. And that issue, that challenge, just like others, it didn't go away. It just lost its power. It was like that bullet slowed down and you just whoosh, dodged to the side. I wonder if that's what was going on in the supermarket too. It's a good feeling. It's a good way to live. Next is just to do one thing slowly, not to race through anything. Except ping pong. Yeah, you gotta do ping pong fast. Now, the 27 principles, that's something I'll try to do this morning. I'm off today, I'm not working. I'll try to get those 3 other principles into the good life, into my meditation, and also add them to the books, which is no small task. Okay, first is the principle of war, to be fighting always against everything that I hold true, like I was yesterday against the good and effective use of time. 2, reason is the tool that I use in that war, and the 3 sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. Next is the homunculus, that little mortal that sits atop the rock. And that rock is the 4th principle, the Anchorhold, the place where the homunculus, the little man in my head, lives and then ultimately dies. Quite alone. There's others out there in the sea, but how do I want to end that sentence? There's others out on that sea, but the best we can do, the word comes to mind is semaphore, right? With little flags, you're signaling. They're off there. And they're signaling back. And then one day you fall off the rock and they're like, he's not signaling back. Ashes to ashes, he's gone. Next principle is the principle of purpose. Is that right? Yes. And the sub-principles of biology with a capital B, virtue and mission. Biology being my shorthand, confusing possibly way of describing the mandate within us to make more of ourselves. Virtue is to live a virtuous life. And then mission, to choose some mission for our lives and fulfill that or work towards it. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, slowly changing. And doomed to dissolution. The next is the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. It's the nature of a first day off, because I have 3 days off, today, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the nature of a first day off to be brimming with potential, just yawning with freshness. But also, like a stopwatch, tick, 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 ticking down the counter time until your time off is over. But if we do our job well, it's not so bad, right? Like, I feel I really had a good week, and I'm actually looking forward to Monday. That's a good thing. I guess I made a good choice coming back to this place. Next is principle of maturity and these sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. Maturity is that state when we remember the lessons of life. Or not the lessons, the experiences of life. I don't think life is trying to teach us anything. I think it's capable. It just is. And then fortitude is when we are strong in our perseverance to not repeat our mistakes and to bear. Excuse me. Next is, I did it again. I always do this. I always skip the one in front of it, which is the pirate ride. The hypothesis that free will is an illusion. That we're really nothing more than pirate animatronics, And the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. We look like we look and behave and feel like we're making these choices and doing what we're doing, and we can make our choices, but in some paradoxical way, the only choices we could have ever made. I'm dead convinced of that. And I can't prove it, so I hold it as an article of faith. Shame on me. Oh, I learned an interesting piece of trivia. Apparently, in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, when it goes through there's the one place where the captain's on his bed, and above his head there's a skull. That's a real human skull. It's the only bone within it that's real. Apparently, there was a time when there were a lot of bones, human bones in there, but that's the only one that's real. Next is, so that was the pirate ride, and then the maturity, and then the social principle. We need each other, followed by, boy, that's important. Damn. More and more, I'm realizing I made the right direction when I went out into the desert when I was 24 or 25, and came racing back to my wife. That would have been a dead end if I'd continued on. It would have been exciting, but it would have been nothing. So I tell myself. Next comes the principle of public speaking, and the idea of speaking slowly and deliberately, choosing my words carefully, to use appropriate words, and to always talk about other people as though they can hear what I'm saying. Not at the risk of sounding like I'm congratulating myself a lot this morning, that's another one that I was doing actively yesterday. I'm reading this book right now as a part of another video series, the Samuel Johnson, and it's so beautiful to read these carefully selected words, so well written, fun to speak. Next is the principle of temperance, and the sub-principles of temperance of suffering, because we suffer when we deny ourselves what we want. Simplicity, because a simple life is a temperate life by definition. And then apathy, because a good part of temperance is recognizing what is outside, so we can temper our emotional reactions, is when we recognize what is and what is not within our control, and we don't get upset by the things that are outside our control, or even fret or fuss much about them. That's a key element there. Next is the Feast of Offal. It's what we do when we get upset and we spew our upset to the world. Now the next is distraction. We fill our lives with all kinds of things that distract us. Really, really ridiculous stuff. While the show goes on. A performance of nothing. A wind down to entropy. An overwhelming cooling. Oh, we don't want to see it. So, let's play a game. Let's watch some TV. Let's gossip. Let's get drunk. Let's curse. Anything at all. But that. The great indifference. So dramatic. Next is, that was the next one. The great indifference. Agency and the great indifference. We don't want to see it. It's in my book. Well, it's not there. You can't see it in my book, but I talk about it in my book. And by the way, all of these objectives and principles are laid out in Going Alone as well, in one of the chapters there, and then in more detail in my book, The Good Life. Next is the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay where I am and doing what I'm doing and being who I am. Next is the Path of Wildness. It's a strategy to life where we attempt to find our way forward And through the deliberate course that we chose, having made that choice armed with facts, uh, sifted through by virtue of reason, and if that's not enough, then directed by our gut. It's easy to find. The course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, a beast's track through the brush, and the direction of your and mine first inclination. Doesn't say it's the right way, but it is a way. Sometimes just going forward is enough. But maybe it's backwards. It's going somewhere. Next is the risk of avoiding risk. There's the deep, deep level risks of not finding ourselves. And then the surface level risks of paying off our mortgage. It's tough to do both. Then comes sin and damnation. In my world view, that is, there are 7 sins. These are credulity, believing too easily; hope, wanting without execution or action; faith, believing just because we wish it was so; superstition, falling into a category of belief that is nearly recognized as nonsense; dogma, believing because it's the sanctioned way; authority, believing because we've been convinced it's true by someone in a lot of power or with a lot of authority, or who wears a funny hat; and then gossip, just because it's not good. Now, complete oblivion. When we're dead, I think we're gone forever. We're not going to see anyone else after we're gone. We're not going to get a chance to solve any problems or right any wrongs. And whatever injustice was performed in life and not managed during life is a closed book. There's no way to right wrongs or to wreak vengeance or to balance the scales after we're dead. So seek these things while you can, while we can. Now then, the next one is the Great Life Adventure, a marquee event in our life, maybe more than one, that becomes the kernel of our identity and part of the story that we tell of our lives. Then comes the Season of Philosophy, which is a reminder to record our impressions of life when the impressions arrive. We won't be able to do it again later. We will have changed and become something else. It might be nonsense later. You might look back and say, wow, that was nonsense. But it's interesting to look at nonsense from the hindsight. It's entertaining in a way. But it might really be something special. It might really be good. Maybe it's something that you can share with those that come after you. But you better do it while the words are there. The bullseye aim, the attempt to hit the mark, and the fact that we usually miss. The uphill climb, trudge, trudge, trudge. Up we go, never ending, until it ends. And sometimes even very little time to rest. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the life that we live. And the principles that we develop are the tools that we use to live that life and to attempt to live well. And then one thing slowly. No. Nothing is enough. The injunction to get by with less. The recommendation, that is. Okay. Now, that was my good life meditation. Now let's forecast the day. Today is a day off. I don't anticipate having I don't have anything professional to ambush me, although I'll probably think about work. But I'm hoping to go for a hike. I'm hoping to take care of a few things. Usually I write down my objectives for the day. I think so far they'll be to finish my videos. I have one more video to make, the Solitude transcription. And then I'm going to write the 3 new principles. Then I will clean the house. Then I will go for a hike. Of course, I'll spend time with the dogs. Those will be the main things. I hope maybe I can fit some good reading in there. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a great day. Remember, be safe, but not too safe.